What is going on, Laser Focus Solutions Media? This is Christopher Godwin, your host, coming at you on a Wednesday evening, August 21st. That's right. We had to double check the date because time just flies by. So here we are. Today, we're going to talk about the Gorilla CV72 Part 2 install. So let's stay tuned and we'll talk about the breakdown of what that looked like. So while I'm getting my screen ready here, just wanted to share this thing was it was a lot. I mean, when it comes down to it, we had to in a previous video we talked about it. We went ahead and dug 4 feet deep. We went ahead and dug a round hole about 17 to 18 inches in diameter, and then we did a 2 foot by 2 foot pad. So what we and bear with me, I feel like I got to make sure I don't, I respect the confidentiality of my clients when I share these things. All right, we are good there. So what we did, and let me get over here to share screen. We're close. We're getting closer. Stay tuned. Bear with me. All right, so here we go. So you should see my screen. So what I did was I backed my driveway. I backed my truck up in the driveway, laid a tarp down, took all the trash that was in, all this stuff was in boxes, and put it in the back of the truck. Then to make sure that nothing got damaged, we went ahead and laid a tarp out, and we put all the products down on the padding. It's just basically throw tarps for painting. So my apologies. Um, so this is the post itself, right? And what we did was we laid this post onto the tailgate. And this is a big unit. I just want to share. It's not level. So we are just in the first phase. This is us getting it up, standing it up, and it was a pretty prideful moment. So we'll get into some other videos, but I wanted to share that what you do is you lay the posts down. We took pieces of foam from the packaging to lay it down. And then basically you have these two shafts that receive bolts, right? This is called the lower arm right here. And the upper arms come out left, come out right, and that's what supports the backboard. We hadn't gotten those on yet, so that's where the picture that you're seeing now is just us literally standing it up. The two posts, upper posts, are down here on the left on the ground. So a little bit of a victory. Again, just getting this thing stood up. It was a lot. So what you don't see is on the back side of this post is the cylinder assembly. That's where you crank. We don't have the handle on yet. So all in all, this took us about 3 hours for, just really taking our time, really making sure this thing was proper. And three grown men, the box calls for five. I could see where maybe you would need five. What we did was once this was set up, we removed everything from the driveway. I then backed my truck up and we assembled the backboard from the bed of my truck. We lowered the bar down with the crank and it made it much more manageable. I think it was the only reason why I was able to do it with three people was because we were utilizing the truck. Otherwise, climbing ladders and everything else just would have been too much. So I'm going to go to the next picture, I believe. Here you can see we got it right at 10 foot true. It was a very, again, prideful moment, let's call it. This thing was hung, it was set, it was ready to rock and roll. And this is us pretty much at 9 feet right now. The client had asked us to kind of lower it down a little bit. So this is a done unit, right? And this backboard it's a beast. Here's the two uprights left, two uprights on the right hand side. They do have drain holes in the bottom, so you got to be conscious of where your the drain holes are. And other than that, I mean, you're talking about an array of bolts and nuts. They do come with plastic spacers because a lot of these things have moving parts, and the plastic spacers are basically to make sure the paint doesn't rub off. Once the backboard was up, they give you three little rubber pieces, more or less so someone doesn't bump their head or their shoulder or a body part into this big, massive honking backboard here. And then the rim as well. This thing even comes with, on the top of the post, a self-leveling mechanism. Like you take the top cap, it's an added part, but you take the top cap off, you put this thing down inside of it, so that way if Shaquille O'Neal comes here, I guess, and wants to throw down on it, you know, the pole itself isn't going to wobble back and forth like crazy. It's going to self-level after like the first shake. Um, so this is kind of the most important picture, I think, for me. And I say that because we actually measured the pad and my arrow on the screen here, if you look at it, the farthest corner we measured off the driveway, and then the closest corner we measured off the driveway. And we started to really base everything off of those measurements because it seemed true, right? Because that's what the blacktop was. But what we learned was that the blacktop had a little bit of an angle, shamefully, right here about where we were. So it was deceiving to the eye because it looked close, but it wasn't true. So what we did was is I stuck a string line, um, a farther reference point down here in the grass, up there towards my truck, and I really went for a long distance to make sure that when this backboard is hung and we're dribbling the ball baseline to go up for a layup, that it's going to be true, right? And I think this is at 10 foot. What I also was going to say was up here in this top left hand side, you can see you can see red a little bit. That actually is the lens for that self leveling mechanism that I spoke to earlier. So all in all, this thing was a massive build. It was super heavy, and I'm just happy to have it, up and running and done. And the client's extremely happy because, they wanted to make sure, which why wouldn't they, that it was straight, right? And so we did our best we self-corrected, even though the pad's a little bit twisted, we self-corrected the bolts, and this thing is locked and loaded and it's true. So again, it's just a fun, we did actually, I did a few layups. That backboard is strong. I've played on public parks before. I've played, in indoor basketball, gyms. And I mean, this thing for an outdoor basketball court, it's ready. I mean, it's ready for some pro to come play on this thing. I mean, it's wild, just how well built this thing is. So the Gorilla CV72. So finished that up. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So we finished that up, and then we went back to Home Depot. We did pick up some fire caulk stopping material. This is the same client that we did the 6th bedroom finish on. The inspector asked that we not use expansion foam. We use fire rated caulk. So that's what we went back and got. And we put that in, and we're going to call for the final inspection on that room. So very happy to do that. So, we just knocked out quite a few jobs over the past 4 or 5 days that, have been hanging out for a while, or just a one-off type job that, I could see being more in our wheelhouse now, right? I don't mind taking on these basketball net install jobs. Now I feel much better about it. I'm happy we were safe. I'm happy the clients, elated to have this thing in, and just, he even personally, the father even personally called me just to say how grateful he was to have it in when he pulled home in the driveway to see it. So all in all, it's just a really good feeling. I'm very blessed and happy to have clients like them. Like I said, just the fact that he said, hey, and by the way, I got, a lot more projects for you to do. So, we'll be talking to you. So, and this wasn't a cheap ask, right? This basketball net, again, think about it. It took us a day to dig, pour concrete, lay it out, set it up, do all those things. Yeah, that was a day. And then today was 3 or 4 hours, 3 guys. So, there was quite a bit of man hours that went into this build. But you get what you pay for again. So I've seen some not so straight backboards, which is why I was just very particular about getting this thing right. I just wanted to also add and end on this. It's wild that I'm 45 years old and I think about how did I level that post? The way, because just to give an idea, there's 4 J rods that come down into the concrete, and they're threaded bolts, a threaded rod. And what you do is you thread nuts down all the way, and you put a washer on. Then you put four of them on. Then you stand the post up on it, and then you do washers all four, and then nuts all four. And then from there, you have to raise up the underneath nuts, right? And kind of like teeter this thing, because that's what you're doing, right? You're actually doing, every time you move a corner, it's changing everything about the post. Okay. And so as I was doing this, it just felt natural to me. And I kind of chuckled a little bit because when I was like 20, I was doing light poles for a company called Pace Electric. And, it's like, it's wild to think back that it was like, hey, kid, go work with so and so today. And you're gonna be working outside on the outside lighting. Okay. And then you show up, and next thing you know, you're putting up 27 poles. You get pretty good. You know what I mean? It's repetition, right? So I laugh about it because here I am 20 some years later, 25 years later, I'm using the same skills that I used back then to mount this post, right? So that was pretty cool just to see that I had that knowledge in my tool bag to pull out. So my point is, you just never know what skills you're going to learn. And hey, this is one of those ones that I was able to kind of cash in on. So very comfortable. I love when clients say, man, I just never really understand how you know all this stuff, or how you can do all these things, or how the resources that you have to pull in, or whatever. But that's what we do. And that's the fun stuff about what we do. So with that, I'm going to end. Just want to again thank everybody. We continue to grow. We continue to do what we do. And we'll come back at you with some more good content. We're going to continue to improve. Peace out.